Hare Krishna, once again, my beautiful friends. Welcome to the Soul Ashraya podcast. I am your host, Bhakta Jake, and we have on today a very, very special guest. I'm going to embarrass him now. He is a world famous astrologer and a very, very, I should say, world famous devotee too. And he is our very
No.
special guest here on the Soul Ashraya. We have on, of course, the one and only and very talented Radhikesh Das. Radhikesh.
Hare
How are you?
Krishna.
Yes,
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Please
Yes.
accept my obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada
Okay.
and my obeisances to all your listeners. Very grateful to be here with you and with all of them.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for so much for taking the time out to be on our show. So Radhikesh, I have just a a, a a few very basic questions for anyone that might be new to astrology. The first question I have for you is, how does astrology um, connect to the, I guess, Vedic? I know it's Vedic already, but why is astrology so important, and why do we as devotees of Lord Krishna, why do we do it? Why do we pay attention to
Sure.
it?
Very, very good question. And this is something that, people are very commonly asked is that what is astrology and what is, as devotees, what is its connection to bhakti? And how do we use astrology as devotees? And this is a very important thing. Astrology, and Prabhupada speaks, a lot about astrology and astrology's connection to being devotees. And 99% of things Prabhupada says about astrology are incredibly positive. In two specific situations, and this is all from Veda base, in two specific situations to specific people, he said they shouldn't use it, and there's a context to those. But in general, his response is very positive. And what does Prabhupada speak about this? And how should we understand astrology? Astrology is a science, just like you have biology and you have chemistry and you have physics and you have medicine and architecture and engineering. These are all sciences that we use to benefit our lives. Astrology is the same way. It is a science that you can use to benefit your life. If you're sick, you go to the doctor and the doctor's okay, change your diet a little bit, take this medicine, your health will get better. You'll feel better. Astrology is doing the same thing, but at a much deeper level. When you get a birth chart made, okay, this is and I'll explain what a birth chart is for people who don't know. This is basically a map of the karma of your life. And the karma of our life kind of manifests through the modes of nature. Okay, the Tamagun, the Rajagun, the Satyagun. This is how, the modes of nature are pushing us in certain directions. So when you look at somebody's astrological chart, this is a map of your life, when the good times are going to come, when the bad times are going to come, when should you be careful? Am I going to be pulled in, a direction that's not beneficial for me at this age? Am I going to be someone who's more sensitive or more depressed or more aggressive? Am I going to be someone who's friendly? All of this is seen in an astrological chart. We think we control so many things that happen in our life, but we actually don't. So what it describes is our nature and our karma in this life. How is this related to bhakti? Because once we understand our nature, once we understand our psychophysical nature, we can understand how, number one, best we're going to relate to other people, how we're going to understand the ups and downs of our life, how we're going to deal with those problems when they come. That's going to be best for us, because everybody's nature is different. Everybody's relationship with Krishna is different. And the way we deal with our problems, with our difficulties, or with the good times in our life is very different for different people. So, some people may be able to deal with a problem by becoming, put their head down and deal with it and try to get through it, while some people need the support of others and focus to get, through it, and they can't do it by themselves. Some people will see a problem, they're going to get very frustrated and they can't handle it. Some people, it's going to be like, okay, I better, talk to they'll logically deal with it. So everybody has different ways of dealing with things. And if you understand which way is best for you, it's going to help you so much to get through things. And, a birth chart, if you read the first canto, chapter 12, the birth of Maharaj Parikshit, okay, who is the grandson of the Pandavas, the grandson of Arjuna. That whole chapter, Prabhupada speaks so powerfully and strongly about birth chart readings and how the planets control everything that happens in our life. And, Maharaj Yudhishthir got a birth chart made for his grandson. So this is a very fundamental part of Vedic culture. So what a birth chart does, if you imagine the moment that you are born, okay, a birth chart is a position, is a map of where all the planets were located at that exact second in time, okay? And all of this calculated, it's a very complex calculation, determines our personality, health problems, the good and bad times, our spiritual life, how we're going to focus on that, and all of these things can be seen. You'll see when you're going to get sick, when you're going to make money, when am I going to move at a certain time in my life, when you're more likely to get married, when you have children. All of these things can be seen through the birth chart. Think of it as getting like a lab report of your life, and then you can decide, what to do with those things. And it's just another tool you have to allow yourself to live a more peaceful and happy life. And as we live a more materially peaceful and comfortable life, it helps us in our spiritual journey because it allows us to be stable and be able to focus on our spiritual life. If our life is always full of difficulty and frustration, it becomes much harder for most of us to be able to focus on our spiritual life. Now, if you're the Pandavas or you're, Ambarish Maharaj or Bali Maharaj or some of these very famous personalities, you can go through all kinds of things and you can come out of it very strongly, but no, I'm going to stay on my spiritual path. But for most of us, obstacles and difficulties and stresses can be quite challenging and also have us, it causes us struggles and questions on our spiritual journey. One thing I love about doing astrological charts is that for many people, it's their first kind of tangible proof, if you want to use that word, of Krishna's presence in their life. Because if somebody comes to me, then I can tell them after talking to them for 2 minutes, you moved at this age, your parents are like this, your brother's like that, you got this disease at this age, this is how we fix your problem. All of these type of things that nobody can possibly know. People start to get a little bit more deeply curious about their own karma. So this is another wonderful aspect of doing astrological charts because it helps people realize, okay, the quote I like to use, I use a lot of Shakespeare quotes, is that there's more in heaven and earth, Horatio, than is dreamt of in your philosophy, if you remember that one. So this is, there's so much more in this universe, in every universe, in the spiritual world than we are aware of. So as we start to use these sciences to help us on our journey, we can really flow in this world much more easily, put it that way.
Such a good answer. Absolutely. So there is definitely a foundational reality to astrology. Like without a doubt, there is a real science to astrology.
Yes.
I guess my coming into it, the gears in my head are turning about why do the planets have such a profound effect on us humans on Earth? And what is the connection between your rising sign when you're born and, more important, your sun sign? Like I guess that's a two-part question, but I,
Two-part question.
but
Yes.
but more, I would really like to hear more importantly, like why do the planets, these outer planets like Neptune, and Pluto even apparently are in your chart somewhere. Like that's a part of your chart. Why do these planets affect humans on Earth?
That's another very important question. So we have to see what are these planets, whether it's Mercury or the sun, which we consider a planet for Vedic purposes. Um, Saturn, Jupiter, these are all physical manifestations, they're planets, but these are also subtle energies. Jupiter is Brihaspati, the guru of the Devas. So he has a physical manifestation, but he also has a spiritual presence. Both are there. Shani is Saturn, who's also a great devotee of Lord Nrsimhadev. You have Venus, who's Brihaspati, Shukracharya, the guru of the demons. You have Mercury, who is the planet of intelligence. He's the son of the moon and the wife of Jupiter. You have all these different, the sun is Suryadev. So all of these are physical planets, but at the same time, that physical manifestation is of a spiritual being. Okay. And all of these planets, their spiritual energy and their subtle energy, are servants of Krishna. Okay. And they are their job. These are all great devotees. Even Saturn, who people are always fearful, but he's a great devotee of Lord Nrsimhadev. And they are simply empowered by Krishna to bring these karmas into our life. They're kind of fulfilling their duties and responsibilities as demigods, that type of thing. That's what they're doing. And the modes of nature, okay, in the introduction to Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada says that the modes of nature multiplied by time is karma, okay? And the astrological chart shows our karma, and the modes of nature work through the planets, okay? That's where the modes of nature are manifest and pull us in certain directions in our life. So why do these planets do this? This is simply what they are requested or ordered to do by Krishna to bring this karma for every single person, good and bad. We in the Bhagavatam, you'll hear about Brihaspati and Shukracharya and all these different great devotees. But you have to remember this very wonderful thing that these devotees are here to help you on your path. They're not there just for, uh, for Bali Maharaj or for the Devatas. They're here for every single person. And this is one of the wonderful things about astrology is that you can tap into the energies of all of these different energies may not be, you can tap into the mercy. You can take the mercy or guidance of all of these different demigods to help you on this path. And I'm going to answer one more question here before it's even asked, because this is asked commonly, is that, Prabhu, we don't worship demigods. We don't do that kind of stuff, and that is 100% correct. We do not worship demigods. The analogy I like to use is, say you break your arm, okay? And then you have to go to the doctor and the doctor fixes it. And you appreciate and respect the knowledge and ability of the doctor, but you don't worship them for it, So this is the same way with the demigods, but at a much higher level of consciousness. We appreciate, respect them as devotees of Krishna, as servants of Krishna who empowered to carry out certain duties. And this is how we appreciate and respect them, because these are very powerful entities who have performed many pious activities in their life in the past to get to the positions that they have. So we appreciate and respect who they are and what they're doing, but they are not the Supreme Lord. They're all servants of Krishna. And that is important to understand. So that's why, but Krishna has said, okay, you have a problem with this particular thing, go to this demigod, they can help you. You have you have a health problem, go here. You have a marriage problem, go here. You're having some financial issues, this person has been empowered by me to help you. So that's how that question generally comes up a lot. So I try to answer that before anything else. As devotees, this is how we look at this.
I'm amazed. I never, I that was such a great answer. I never would have thought to even think that, you know, I mean, I'm still relatively new to Krishna consciousness, and I'm taking little baby steps in my sadhana every single day, and like rowing, chanting, very important,
Sure.
all
Of
these
course.
things. And I had, that was brand new, and it makes so much sense. And I've been told by other devotees, like, we don't worship demigods because that would be like watering the leaves of a tree. What we want to do is water the root of the tree. The root, the foundation of the tree is Krishna. I've been
That's
told
right.
that analogy before. So
Yes.
that is incredible. And that just really is like, that really shifts my Western mind and my Western way of thinking about things. And I'm like very grateful for that shift, because I'm all about innovation, new things, new
Of course.
technology,
Of course.
all these things, communication. I'm all about that. So, what are the, maybe you could talk a little bit about the foundational differences of Vedic astrology versus Western astrology. And
Sure.
I've been looking at both a lot lately, actually. And I think that I'll just say this, and then I'll let you go, or let you answer the question. um I I feel like Vedic astrology is far more accurate. I will say that much in my research that I've done. Western astrology seems to have a kind of this like paint it with a broad brush kind of a scope to it, just like real quick, it's over, it's done. And yeah, I'll leave it right there. So what are the differences, and should we even really take Western astrology seriously? And what is Western astrology based on? Like, what's it, where did they get
Okay.
the system? Because I know Vedic astrology is very old and probably the
Yes.
first real
Yes.
astrology. So go ahead.
Yeah. Vedic astrology obviously comes from the Vedas. This is the oldest books of spiritual knowledge that are there, and this is based on the teachings of like Brihaspati. So this is very ancient knowledge that we can use to help our, I'm sorry, not Brihaspati, Bhrigu Muni, sorry, to help us in our spiritual journey. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, of astrologers, I am Bhrigu, so there is so much power and a tremendous amount of knowledge, understanding, and depth from great astrologers that we use in our readings and in making interpretations and predictions on what's going to happen in somebody's life. Um, in Vedic astrology, we use the planets up to Saturn. Okay, so there's Mercury and Venus and the Sun and Mars and Saturn, and we use Rahu and Ketu and the Moon. So all of these are important. We don't use the planets past Saturn. I have tremendous respect for Western astrology and its ability to be successful or helpful for somebody in the things they're trying to do. I know some very wonderful Western astrologers,
Hmm.
uh, but it's different. The focus in Western astrology is much more on the sun and the sun sign and our external nature. And they have in technical terms, they look at the movement of the Earth relative to the sun in a little bit different way. It has to do with you know, the first point of Aries, and that's more technical. But basically, what it comes down to, they have a different way of looking at this. They use planets that in the from Vedic astrology we don't use. Okay. I'm not going to say whether one is more accurate than the other. I may not be the most objective person to answer that question. I'll leave that up to people.
Okay.
But I would say, in my experience and in the work I've done with people, Vedic astrology gives good and consistent and deeply spiritually based results for what people are looking for, what they need help with. And this is over and over again. And what are people looking for help with? The struggles of the material world.
Yes.
There's birth, death, old age, and disease.
Yeah.
We need
Yeah.
to have enough money to take care of ourselves and our family. We want to have a peaceful and happy relationship. We want our health to be good. We want our relationship with our children, our job, all of these things to be as smooth as possible. These are the general categories where we need to just have some stability and peace. So it's not that we can just see how peaceful that's going to be, when the ups and downs are going to come. So it's good if there's a downturn coming, or something difficult coming, or something good coming, we can be patient and just allow that to manifest. And then if something negative is coming, we can also do things to, and this is one of the wonderful things in astrology, you can do things to change this. An astrological chart is not written in stone that it has to be this way, okay? Because we can do things to change that. We can make choices that put us in a more positive direction. If someone's going through a heavy Saturn period or heavy Rahu period, that is not a time for them to rely on themselves to make proper choices or take proper, decisions from their own mind, because there's too much turmoil. But that would be a time for them to have somebody else help them in making those decisions. And then they will be able to get through that much more smoothly. And then you can do things. Okay, Saturn's really heavy in your chart. Let's do things to reduce this negative energy that's there. And the thing is, people have, get illnesses at young ages. And if this is caused by like a heavy Saturn influence and you do something about it, those problems can go away or be reduced significantly depending on what exactly is causing the issue. So there's a lot of things you can do. If you get an astrology reading done, you should walk away from that fully empowered to make all the changes you need to in your life. You shouldn't be walking away from it like, oh my God, my life sucks. This is not going to happen. I'm doomed. I'm going to, fall off a cliff tomorrow when I'm on my phone. No, absolutely the opposite. You should walk away from an astrology reading being like, okay, I have full control of the things that are going on in my life. And you do. We have control. Okay. We don't control the karma that comes into our life. That's there. We don't control if somebody rear ends us. We don't control if our boss fires us. We don't control if we're fighting with our partner. We don't control that our children aren't talking to us or they're taking drugs or whatever the issues may be. But what we do control is how we respond to those situations. This is our choice. This is our free will. How do I respond to this situation? And we can respond to situations in kind of one of two ways. We can respond to a situation that's going on, good or bad in general, situation with, say, depression and anxiety and frustration and anger. And, this can lead to, drugs, alcohol, murder, suicide. There's a whole range of, depending on what the issues are, that it can lead to. And then the second way we can respond to things, we may have some of those same emotions. When you're going through a difficult situation, it's natural to get frustrated and depressed and all of these things. But then we can respond to it in a deeper way. Instead of focusing on the mind and the emotions, we can focus on our deeper relationship with divinity, our deeper relationship with the universe, our deeper relationship with Krishna. And we can look at this situation and we can say, my dear Lord Krishna, this situation is so difficult for me. I'm depressed and I'm frustrated and I'm sad and things aren't working out and I'm missing my kids or my partners, and whatever it is that's doing this. And then we can say to Krishna, please help me get through this in the best way. So when we make the first choice, what we're doing is that we're putting our mind and our ego at the center of the universe. When we make the second choice, we're putting Krishna at the center and us in his service. And when we look at things through that lens, that I am an eternal servant of Krishna. I am here because to remember the things that I have forgotten in my spiritual life, and recognizing that having this human form of life is such a rare treasure. And when we look at things in that way, with that consciousness, that's Krishna consciousness, then then our response to that situation is very different. Now, we on the physical level or on the material level, the response may be exactly the same. Okay, I in the process of losing my job and I don't have enough money. In both situations, it may be, okay, I need to get a new job, I need a new certification, I need to get more education, whatever it may be. But the consciousness with which we are doing it in those two situations is completely different. And when we do that, what happens is that number one, Krishna is there and he helps us through that situation. Number two, you're changing your karma for the future. Okay, because the choices we've made in the past, the consciousness we've made the choices in the past, gives us the situation we have in our life now. And then the consciousness and choices we employ now give us the life and situation we have in the future. So that's where we can make such a difference in our choice. And then astrologically, of course, there's many different remedies that we can do when somebody's like, hey, I don't know if I could do that, or my consciousness is not to that point, I'm just frustrated. Astrologically, Krishna's given at every level, he's given us things that we can do. We have astrological remedies that we can do that can work quite well to reduce the karma we're dealing with. So it's not just that, you go to the astrologer and they say, okay, yeah, Shani's affecting your life, Rahu's affecting your life, see you later, good luck with that. It's not like that at all. Like, okay, Saturn's causing this problem. Let's do this, or let's do this. Let's fix it. Let's reduce it. Let's see what we can do. So we can talk about remedies at some point, but this is another wonderful thing in astrology. You can do a lot to deal with things. You are not bound by these things. It's like if you go to the doctor and the doctor gets, a blood test done and, okay, your cholesterol's high or your sugar is high. They're not going to say, okay, bye, see you later. They're going to give you things that you can do, whether it's diet or reducing stress or exercise, that you can fix or reduce those issues. This is the same way in astrology. This is a science that you can use to help yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I will say that this recalls to my mind my very good friend and very good devotee Ram Das Prabhu, who lives over in Syracuse. They have an ashram there, and they're running programs. He and his wife both went to an astrologer before they got married, and the astrologer was, I guess, brought to them by his guru.
Okay.
His guru is I'm terrible with his guru's name. I'm not even going to attempt to say it because I don't want to mess up his name at all, because I respect the guy so much. But he is in the he works out of the ISKCON temple in New Jersey, the Parsippany in Parsippany, New Jersey.
Okay.
So they had to be, number one, initiated before they could see the astrologer. Number two, chanting 16 rounds a day before they could see that astrologer. And I can't remember his name, but apparently he was like Prabhupada's astrologer. Like, he's an older devotee and one of the first devotees. I don't know if maybe you know who it is.
I do not know who
that is. But the point of all that, what I'm getting to the point of the whole thing is that it makes a huge difference if you are a devotee or not. That, I think, is what really makes the difference. Is like, if you are you chanting 16 rounds? Are you getting close to 16 rounds? I mean, these sort of like the marks of a devotee, I guess, make a huge difference in your chart, in your life as well, like the way you think about things, the way you can handle problems. Now, that's not to say that you have to be chanting 16 rounds to come and see, to come and see you, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that at all.
Right. I think this is a very, it's a very good question. Being a devotee certainly can be helpful in dealing with the ups and downs if we have the right consciousness and understanding. But I can tell you, I do readings for many devotees. When people go through struggles, these are our tests, right? These are our tests that come. It's very difficult for most people, even very, people who are in positions of, where they seem quite advanced. It's very difficult when we go through this because these are our attachments. These are our expectations of life. So for everybody out there, whether you're chanting one round or no rounds, or you're not a devotee, when you're getting drunk every day or taking drugs, Krishna is still there for you. He's not forgotten you. He's there for you every second. And what I've seen is people get their astrological readings at the perfect time when it's meant for them to have that knowledge come into their life. So, anybody who's going through any obstacles or struggles, problems with a kid's relationship, it's a perfect time to get a reading done to kind of see what's going on in my life, what's causing all of this. So I think if someone's a devotee, it can. I won't say it does. It, in theory, okay, it can allow us to have a deeper understanding or be more conscious of what's going on. But I've seen many people who are not devotees be very, deeply conscious and understanding of the things that are going on in their life when they get astrological readings done. So if we use devotee in the most broad term, so a spiritually minded person, I think this is where I see, someone who has some understanding of their spiritual energy can get this a little bit more and be in a position where they can respond to this in the best way. But what I'll tell everybody out there, the material world is just, it's a difficult place. It's so frustrating. We're going through so many things and we're just like, man, when is this going to end? When are things going to get better? When is, I'm frustrated. I don't know where my life is going. I have no clue what's going on. What the heck is my life, and how am I going to change this? And this is a lot of people, devotees or not, because Maya just can just push us in so many different directions. And the best way is, you focus on your spiritual life, but the astrological chart just gives you an idea of, why am I going through this? Like I did a reading for somebody like last week, one day, and he's a devotee, solid, strong devotee for like 40 years. And then, the last like 2 years, he just went crazy. He started drinking, you name it, he started doing it all. And so I did a reading for him, and, Rahu came into his life 2.5 years ago, and just, so even when you're very advanced, these heavy mode of ignorance planets, when they come in, they can just push you in that direction. And then I said, bro, let's do this to help fix the problem. But this is going to last about another 6 months. And then you're going to get through it much more easily. This is just like a bump in the road. You're not, fallen devotee. You're not, this is just the modes of nature. And then when we recognize that, okay, this is what's manifesting, or this is what's causing it, we understand that we're still under the control of the modes, whether we realize it or not, in many ways, even through years of chanting. Ideally, if I'd done his reading years earlier, I would have said, look, this time period is going to come in 2022. Before that comes, let's, number one, recognize that you're going to be pulled in a certain direction, do all the things you can do to avoid that, and then, do some remedies to help fix the problem, So a lot of times when people come to me, I'll tell them, gosh, I wish we had spoken 20 years ago. Things could have been very different. So it's, spiritual people have a certain level of vibration that they can certainly get things, but Maya is very, very powerful. And the association of devotees, the association of spiritual people, and, humbly recognizing that we are very small, and that even though we feel like we have control over our mind and things like that, sometimes, Krishna says, okay, you think you control your mind that much. Let me send something your way and see what happens, So it can be very challenging, but you know, there's so many things that can be done to help us on our journey. One thing I always like to tell people, there's always this feeling of, okay, there's me, and then there's Krishna up here, and I'm on that journey, and it's just me walking on that path to Krishna. But it's so important to recognize that there is infinite living entities who are helping you on that journey, who are wanting you to go back to Krishna. Everybody you read about in the Bhagavatam, they're there to help you on that journey. Your guru and every guru before them is there to help you on that journey. There's so many well-wishing devotees who are still on this planet and some not on this planet who are helping you on that journey. So always be aware you are not on this path alone. Krishna and everybody who's connected to Krishna is there to help you on that path. So this is one thing to always remember. Sometimes on the spiritual path, we feel a little alone, or like, God, I have to walk this path. And we do, but there's a lot of people there that if we start to go in a wrong direction, who'll push us and pull us in the right direction also.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So good. So good. Yeah. It seems like, you a spiritually minded person. And of course, Prabhupada talked about this all the time, like a spiritually minded person who is God conscious. It doesn't really matter who they're praying to or what they're praying to or anything, I mean, you can chant the names of the Lord Jesus Christ if you want.
Right.
I mean, as long as you are just God consciousness, I think that makes a huge difference.
Yes.
And whether that and I tell you, getting your chart done early is really very important. We were just reading a couple episodes ago in the podcast, chapter 5 of the Krishna book, and they're all having a party. It's like a baby shower for sweet baby Krishna. And it talks about how, like, all these people are coming in, they're dressing up the town and everything. And the astrologers are coming in because maybe that was a thing that happened for centuries in India. Where is that a thing? Like, as soon as a baby is born, the astrologer is there. Like, here's the chart. Here's everything.
Absolutely. In Vedic culture, and Vedic culture at that time wasn't India. Bharatvarsh was the entire world at that time, the entire world. So when children were born, they would get an astrological reading done. Why? You can see what their nature, and I do a lot of readings for children, right after they're born. The parents will contact me, hey, this is the time my child was born. This is, what can we do? Because you can understand their nature, and if there's certain yagyas or things that need to be done for them to kind of minimize some negative things that are going to happen, you can do them at that age. And you understand their nature, how best to deal with them, how best to approach them, what their inclinations, are going to be. How do I talk to my child? Are they going to keep secrets? Or are they going to be open with me? Are they going to be somebody who needs to always be in good and proper association because they're subject to peer pressure? Or is it somebody who's going to be strong and the other people aren't going to bother them no matter what they're doing? All of that you can see. And then you can see, hey, this is my child. This is, my child's behaving like a brat right now. Is this going to get better? Is this, all of that. And
they do.
You can see when those things are going to happen. And one of the best things is you can see how to deal directly with that particular child. Every child is different. Some kids need structure and organization. Some kids you can yell at. Some kids yell at them, you'll get the exact opposite response. Some people you can force to do things and say, tell your kids, hey, go do your homework. But others, you tell them something, they're going to do the exact opposite. So all of that, you can understand their nature. And when you understand their nature, you get less frustrated and your children bloom in the best possible way. It's take the example of a fire that's just starting to grow. Okay. If that fire has the right wood, the right person kindling it, the right environment around it, that fire can reach the sky. Okay, great potential and manifestation if you understand exactly how to do it. But if you have the wrong wood, or it's raining, or you're not kindling it in the proper way, well, that fire is going to lose all its potential. It's probably going to go down or not, so you'll lose all of that potential. This is how you can help your kids if you understand that. And this is when they're born, when they're, at any age, to get that done is a very good way to, understand them and allow them to be fully happy in their life.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, I know that you had done my chart, and I am 40, like mid 40s now, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. But I do think you're right when like you're getting your chart read right at the time that you need it. It seems to be like there's this perfect timing of the universe and things
Absolutely.
like that. And it's such a blessing. It's so important to know these things, like to see these things, what's behind you, what's in front of you, what's going to happen in the future. It's so important to know these things and see these things. Now, I know that you had talked about like maybe some of the off-putting effects that certain planets have on you. Do you want to talk about any of the remedies that you have?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, the planets are bringing karmas into our life, but in the ancient astrological texts, it talks about different things we can do to reduce the effects of these planetary influences in our life. There's generally 5 types of remedies that we use. There's gemstones, there's yagyas, there's certain mantras you can chant for different planets. There's giving in charity, and then there's wearing certain colors. Okay, all different types of things that you can do. And those 5, in order of strength, gemstones obviously work the best. And the key with gemstones is that they have to be pure. So that's not 95% of the stones. You can't just go out, no, let me get a blue sapphire, it'll fix this Saturn problem. No, pure gemstone directly from the earth can be very, very powerful. Of course, depends on what planetary influences are going on, which stone is going to be helpful. So that's one thing we do. But I do that a lot. That's very helpful for people. You can do yagyas, fire sacrifices. Okay. If certain planets are affecting you, fire sacrifices can be very helpful in reducing that effect. When I went through my Saturn period, which was quite an intense Saturn period, I did a yagya for Saturn, and reduces that effects. You can I'll talk about the last one first, which is wearing certain colors. Okay, you can chant. Third one is chanting mantras. There's certain mantras you can chant for different planets that can help reduce their effects. Also quite effective. The one I use the most is for Saturn. There's something called the Nrsimha Stuti. So it's a prayer that Saturn himself wrote. If anybody goes to my website, radhikeshdas.com, you'll see this on there. And this is a very beautiful prayer that Saturn wrote. It's in the Bhavishya Purana. And this is a prayer that Saturn himself writes to Lord Nrsimhadev. And he says, anybody who chants this, whatever difficulties I'm bringing will be reduced. So it's very beautiful that, and there's different ones you can chant for whatever planet is causing the difficulties. A lot of times people will chant certain mantras for Rahu or Ketu. They'll chant certain mantras to Lord Shiva to reduce the effects of Mars. You can chant Hanuman Chalisa on certain days to help the effects. So there's a lot of different options in that regard. The fourth one is giving in charity. Okay, so depending on what planet is causing the problem, you can give in charity. Like if you're having a problem with Venus, like a relationship problem, you can, donate white things, rice or yogurt or milk to the temple on Fridays, and it can be helpful. If it's a problem with Jupiter, on Thursdays, you can do something for Jupiter with donating some, corn or some other lentils, yellow lentils, these kind of things to the temple, the yellow color. This is helpful. Now, the key with doing this, right? This is a very important question, is people are out there thinking, I'm having a problem with my wife, or I'm having a problem with my husband, or I don't have enough money. How the heck is donating some bananas on a Thursday going to fix that problem, right? Anybody would ask that question. How's that work? How is one related to the other? Okay. So this is a very, right? You have that question?
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
How's that work?
yeah.
You know, people can think, okay, okay, gemstone, this pure gemstones have some power to them. They could help. They understand mantras helping. How the heck is this going to help me? So these are ritualistic activities. Okay. Think of a ritual as a door. Okay. There's a door. And what's on the other side of that door if I perform this particular ritual? Happier relationship, better health. I get my job, I have enough money, all of these things, whatever the particular problem may be. My kids are talking to me, my back stops hurt, whatever the issue is that's going on. But every door has a key. All right. You can't force that open. You can't put $1 million there and open that door. You can't say, hey, I'm the CEO of this and that. Look at me. I'm so great. Open that door. Doesn't work. The key to opening the door of rituals is that they have to be done with gratitude, appreciation, humility, and respect. Okay. Gratitude and appreciation to Krishna. Gratitude and appreciation to whatever planetary influence, whatever demigod is there as a servant of Krishna and trying to help you. Humility and respect. Humility in that I am not the controller. I have very limited power, all these things, but Krishna has sent all of these people to help me. Let me take their guidance. And then respect, as we talked about, respect for these demigods and their abilities to help us. This is the doctor who's helping fix my broken arm. Let me be respectful of that. When they're done in that way, and with a proper understanding that Krishna has sent these people in my life, the results come very nicely. Rituals are very beautiful if they're understood in the right way and the consciousness comes in the right way. So if you go with this consciousness to the temple and, on a Friday, because you're having some relationship problems or some money problems or this kind of thing, and you put, some yogurt down there and you're like, and you're talking to Venus, to Shukracharya. Shukracharya, out of respect for you, I am putting these down. You are a servant of Krishna. And our scriptures have said that if I do this on Fridays, the negative effects that are there in my life will be reduced. Out of great respect for you as a servant of Krishna, I am doing this. And when we do things with that consciousness, with that deeper understanding of our relationship with Krishna, our relationship with all of these different demigods and their relationship with Krishna, and that they are there simply to help us through this karma, to help us take this karma and use it in the best possible way, using this obstacle as an opportunity to go deeper into our relationship with Krishna. Then the results come very nicely. If this is done with arrogance or indifference or pride, oh, here, I bought 2 bananas and you throw them on the altar, let's see what it does, I don't know, then the results don't come. A little bit of humility is very, very helpful. Now, it's the same way when we wear certain colors, right? If I wear white on Friday or yellow on Thursday, or whatever, green on Wednesdays, depending on what the issue is. Think of it as, if we have, a baseball team or a soccer team or a football team that we support, people will, wear their colors on game day, right? This is the same kind of thing, but again, at a much higher level of conscience. If everybody in the stadium is wearing, I don't know that sport, New York Giants, whatever. I don't know whose
Yeah,
team is
yeah.
where. Everybody's wearing their colors. It creates a certain energy and that type of thing, and everybody likes it. I hate using sports analogies because I know zero about any of these sports.
Okay.
But it's in the same consciousness that, okay, the Vedas have stated this is how I reduce the effect of Saturn or Jupiter or this type of thing in my life. And you wear that, and again, with that same consciousness, and the results can come. So it's all about doing it in the right, doing the ritualistic activities in the proper and best consciousness. If they're done in that consciousness, beautiful results can manifest. And I mean, it's something I see every day in people's lives. When they're done with not the proper consciousness, then the results will come, but they won't come. They may come 10 or 20%. They're not going to come 80% or 100% in your life. But if things are done properly, the results can come very strongly and nicely in not just reducing things. Sometimes we do these remedies to help improve things. Some people have, hey, I need more money, my relationship's not great, or I want to get married and nothing's happening. Then we can do things to kind of help those things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of like one of the things that I just absolutely love doing is offering boga, offering flowers, offering water, offering just about anything I have. I have an altar here at my house, and it's nothing very fancy or anything like that, but I've put it together over time and I've made it very nice. And I can say that those moments of doing that, of opening up the curtains to the altar and ringing the bell and putting the water and the flower and everything and the bananas there and everything, I just love it.
Sure.
The connection and the feeling,
Yes.
and I do not have deities. I just have pictures of everybody, like that's all I have.
Yeah.
But still, I think that there's a power to that. And there's definitely the ritualistic steps that you're going through. You're making a connection.
Absolutely.
God.
Absolutely.
And when you realize that, it causes you to have so much reverence. And then it's like that just overspills into everything in your life. It overspills, in every aspect of your life. You're like, wow, I have reverence for these people now, like even people that you don't necessarily like, you still have reverence.
Right.
Because you've gotten to this thing of, offering your obeisances, offering your prayers, offering your mantras to Lord Krishna. So yes, there's definitely something to that for sure. So we're almost out of time. I wanted to just throw one more question your way that I think a lot of our audience would really like to know, because I'm having a feeling that our audience might be into some stuff like this. But
okay.
What is your and you don't have to go into this deeply at all, but what is your feeling? What is your opinion on using tarot cards and like getting tarot readings like regularly?
I'm not an expert on tarot cards or how often they recommend readings or anything like that. So I can't speak so much to how they work, but I think it's something people use. So if it's something I don't know much about, I try to avoid giving an opinion on something I'm not qualified to give an opinion on. But what I would say is that astrology, Vedic astrology, has many tools to help us. Okay. So you have the birth chart reading, which we get done, once in our lifetime or more, depending on what's going on. Most people come a few times. But then in astrology, you have something called a yearly chart reading. Once a year, people come to me, and your year begins on your birthday. People come around the time of their birthday, and we look into great detail on what's happening every single month of that year. You know, what they can expect to happen. And the other wonderful way astrology helps you is something called prashna. Prashna means question. So if you have something going on in your life and you're sitting around at home and you're thinking about it, you're like, oh man, should I take this job? Is this going to be good for me? You know, is my marriage going to survive? You know, anything that may be going on. Is my child taking drugs? You know, anything that's going on. You can actually, at the moment in time that you think of that question. So say you're sitting in, you know, New York City on August 25th, you know, 2025, something like that. You ask, the moment you ask that question, I create a chart for that exact moment in time, because there's an understanding that when we ask that question, Paramatma within the heart, the universe is helping us to ask that question and to give us an answer. So the astrological chart can give us a very clear answer to what is there. So there's so many tools in astrology that we can use to help us on our spiritual journey. It's not just a birth chart. There's a yearly chart. There's prashnas. There's, you know, muhurtas, which relate to finding auspicious times for doing certain things. So there's so many different tools that you can use to help you on your journey. So I think that's probably the most intelligent answer I can give to that question, because I'm not so familiar with how often somebody should get tarot card readings done.
Yes, yes, very good, very good. Yes, yes. I just had that feeling that we have that like segment of our audience that are just interested in mystical things. And what is this Krishna consciousness anyway? You know, you know, so they're maybe already dabbling in like tarot and tarot readings and everything. But that was a fantastic answer. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Actually, I have one more question I want to answer, if that's okay, if we have time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is a question that is very important. Excuse me. Is that, how do I find a good astrologer? How do I know that I'm going to the right person? How do I know that this person is legit? All of the, you know, very good question. Like, oh, this Radhikesh guy's on your show. I don't know anything about him. Who is he? You know, very good question to, and very important question to ask. You know, you find a good astrologer, it's not so complicated. The same way you find a good doctor, or you find a good counselor, or you find a good plumber. You know, you ask people around you. You, in the old days, you know, people would talk to other people in the village or in the city or their town that, hey, who do I talk to? Who can be helpful? And usually there's, at that time, astrologers came from certain families and they're, you know, been doing it for generations, and that, you know, people know where to go, but sometimes they can ask. In the modern day, you ask your friends, you read their Google reviews. I guess that's one way of doing it. And that's how I would encourage people to find someone who's going to be beneficial. And you should walk away from that astrology reading feeling fully empowered to change and transform your life, not like walking away from it in any kind of negative way whatsoever. It should be like, okay, now I know, let me do the things that I need to do. So that's important. So when you look for an astrologer, you know, read their Google reviews, talk to people who've been to them, and then do you connect with them? Are they, you know, I mean, they don't have to be devotees, but whether a devotee or they're, you know, do they have some spiritual energy behind them, or are they, you know, a little bit more just, I guess, cold or impersonal, or just like talking the science and not giving you what you need deeper than that? You know, that is also something to look at. But again, the best way, like I said, talk to people and read their Google reviews. That's the best way you're going to learn if somebody in the modern day is the right person for you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I can attest that, you know, I heard your interview on Jiva's podcast, and that is how I like, I don't know, me and Jiva are like, we're pretty good friends. So
I was greatly honored to be on her show. She's a very close friend, and she's just an incredible personality that I have so much respect and love for, and I learned so much from her, you know.
I know she is. She is wonderful. She really is. So, but that's how I had how
Sure.
I had sought you out is through Jiva. So we are going to probably post a link on our WhatsApp group and probably on the YouTube video for this too to get to your website. Any final words? Anything you want to put out there before we sign off today?
Um, Two things. Number one, never forget that Krishna is always there with you, and that Krishna will take care of you throughout your life. What your astrological chart is going to make you realize is that Krishna has you in the palm of his hand and he is guiding you home. And just trust in that love, go deeper into that relationship, and never forget that this human form of life is very rare, that we should use this as much as we can to understand our relationship with Krishna, and despite all the complications that come in our life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Excellent. Very, so good. So good. Excellent way to end. Excellent way to end. Thank you very much for watching our show, the Sola Shraya podcast. That is it for this one. And we will be around. Please like, subscribe, push buttons, ring bells, all that stuff on our YouTube channel. And we will check you out later. All right. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.